Rabbi said let's continue the sugya that we finished yesterday, which was, if you remember, I want to just go over a few things to get a little bit of clarity. It's such a chosh of a sugya. Such a chosh of a sugya. I hope the guys realize this, you know. You guys are going to get these shilas every single Shabbos when you get married. This is classic. This is classic shilas. And you guys, Baruch Hashem, will be able to answer, right, Zevi? It's going to be gavaldik, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so we were in the sugya of the Dover Gush. We spoke about the Inyan, we spoke about the Machlokes, we spoke about Halacha L'Maisa that a Dover Gush has a din of a Kli Rishon, even in a Kli Shlishi, Kol Zman, as long as it is in a it's boiling hot. Okay? Nafkamina, Legabe, spices, and other things which I'm going to get to right now. But another nafkamina we ended yesterday with, that you've got to be careful where this Dover Gush falls onto. It falls onto a plate or a bowl that has previously, it's wet from liquid, so that could be problematic. A nafkamina will be if that liquid was previously cooked or not. And again, that's something that's a sugya that we're going to discuss when we get down there to Bishul Bishul. But Be'ez Hashem will talk about that as we get there. But al kaponim, it's definitely kedai when a person is taking a piece of meat, chicken or kigel, whatever it is, to make sure that the plate is fully dry of any liquid, especially liquid that may have never been cooked because you just rinsed the plate under the faucet, under the tap. Now, just to give a few clarifications when it comes to spices and other condiments, and that is, for example, salt. We're going to talk about salt in a minute. Ba'arichas be'ez Hashem. The pashtus is that any type of salt can be placed on a Dover Gush on Shabbos Kodesh, even if it's hot. Okay, which means any type of salt can be sprinkled on kigel or chicken or meat, whatever it is, boiling hot. That's not a problem. We'll get to why in a moment. When it comes to spices, particularly pepper and garlic, many of that are not previously cooked. So you want to take some pepper and sprinkle it on the kegel because the Yerushalmi kegel isn't spicy enough, right? So what is the din in that case? So the answer is you're not allowed to do that. If you have a piece of kegel, it's yad zeledis, I'm not talking about it's a bit warm. Warm is obviously no problem at all. You're talking about a piece of kegel, David, Yerushalmi kegel, I want to put a bit more pepper on it. It's on my plate, it's in a kli shlishi, it was from the plate, from the tray, Nope, not allowed. Why? Because the Dover Gush has got a din of a Kli Rishon. It's Yad Zeledis boy. It's Kibim Mevashel. Rafal, pepper, has not been cooked. And therefore, any spice that has not been cooked may not be placed. I don't know how many people know this, but now you do. That's more important. Okay, Shimon? Yeah. Gavaldik. Let's move on. Moving on. Ketchup. Okay, ketchup. Ketchup. People eat ketchup with all sorts of things. Okay, people eat ketchup with eggs. What? Yeah, no, steak and ketchup, by the way. Rachmana litzlan. No, Rachmana litzlan. You don't put ketchup on. That's such a if the chef would see that, can you imagine? He spent hours and days aging the steak, and there comes this American bacha and takes his Heinz ketchup and just smears it on, like the chrein on the gefilte fish. The more you put on, the less the gefilte fish you feel. You know what I mean? Anyway, the point is, people eat ketchup with everything. Shaila, are you allowed to put ketchup on your food on Shabbos Kodesh? Whether it's schnitzel, whether it's kegel, whether it's whatever it be. Don't tell Yitzi. Maybe even in the chulent. Maybe even in the chulent. Don't tell Yitzi. Yeah? Are you allowed to do that? So Rav Moshe has a gavaldik zach. Rav Moshe writes, there's a Tshuva Orach Chaim Chelik Dalet, 79 Dalet, where he brings down, Rav Moshe says like this. Rav Moshe says a gavaldik yesod. He says whenever you have two chumras, we don't put them together. Now, I'm going to tell you the two chumras, but we didn't explain all of them at this moment of time, at this stage of learning Hilchos Bishul, so you may not understand all of them, but I'll give it to you right now. Number one, Zugah Moshe, ketchup has already been cooked. How do the tomatoes have already been fully cooked inside the pot, and therefore they're already cooked? If that's the case, it's Bishul Acha Bishul B'Davalach, which again we haven't got to, but some Machlokes. True, we're machmir on that, we'll get to it when we discuss Sif Dalet, but I got that's chumrah number one. Chumrah number two is a Dover Gush. Dover Gush, if you remember, was a Machlokes. Yeah, we're machmir to give a Dover Gush a din of a Kli Rishon. But it's a Machlokes, and there are many who are Mekel. So Rav Moshe, whenever you have two chumras, we don't put them together. Mimela, according to Rav Moshe, to take ketchup and to pour it on a boiling hot piece of sizzling schnitzel. Boiling hot, whatever you want to call it, would be mutter. There's no problem putting ketchup or what?
For any cooked condiment, this works.
Like what? You have to know if it was previously cooked or not. Ketchup, I'm giving you an example because we know it was previously cooked. Any condiment that was not cooked,
then is the problem.
Would obviously be a problem, right? The only reason why we're making it over here is because it's already been cooked. Okay, is everybody with me? Azaria, you with me? Good? Klar? Weiter. Let's move on. Let's move on, Rabbi Isai. Some very interesting shaylas for today that we have to get into. Before we talk about, and I want to discuss, I want to get a little bit into the sugya. We'll talk about it right now. Maybe we'll talk about the idea now of kalei habishal. I think it's a very, very big sugya, very important sugya. If you remember, a couple of shurim ago we discussed the idea of the dargas of kalim. What can cook, one cannot cook. Now we're all familiar with the Mefurish song, you can't cook in a kli bishul, in a kli shlishi, right? What's the official the words? There ain't no bishul in a kli shlishi, okay? Officially, again, according to some. If you write that on your test in school, the teacher may say it's wrong because she goes with the other poskim. Anyway, the point is, it's been a long time since we heard that. It's a sphere now, so like getting the Olim Tivers into hearing Azar Nigan. Anyway, the point is that many kalim have lost their darga or bishul because they've gone already less than the temperature, or it's going down in temperature, and therefore they have no koich bishul. Alright, klisheni being the most important and most nagea one, that most of our kalim, whether it's a soup bowl, whether it's a coffee cup, or tea, whatever it may be, is a klisheni in many cases. If that's the case, klisheni is generally not being mavashal. So the question is, we said, there are exceptions. And the exceptions are things that are very sensitive to heat, that become cooked even in a low darga of heat. And we're going to spend a little bit of time explaining that because it's something that's very, very nageya. It's nageya in a lot of different situations, okay? The Gemara, Shabbos Kuf Mem Heyam Beis, gives us this yesod and tells us there are certain things called kalei habishal. The Gemara brings examples, we'll talk about them. But the Gemara says that the kalei habishal can get cooked even in a klisheni and sometimes even in a klishlishi and beyond. So the question we have to ask is, okay, what is included in the category of a kalei habishal? What is included in something that could get cooked even in a klisheni that I have to be careful not to place it in a klisheni nafkamina for so many different things that we do, as we will explain. Comes along, what's that? Comes along the Magen Avraham. Right, famous Magen Avraham, Semishin Yudches, Yudches, Yudches brings the Sefer Yereim, right? Everybody knows the Shita of the Yereim, famous Shitas Yereim from the Be'alach at the beginning of the Semishin Chav, when he talks about the when he talks about the Inyan of Toichein, and he says that we don't know what things are. If anybody learned the Yereim before, the Yereim was always scared. Kach Shemoy. He was always scared. It was that I don't know, I'm not sure what's going to be. Kach Shemoy, the Yereim. Zug the Magen Avraham over here, Shin Yudches, Yudches, B'Shema Yereim. We don't know what is for sure considered to be a kalei bishul and what's not a kalei bishul, and therefore, zog the Heilige Magen Avraham, everything is guilty until proven innocent. As I state, mamish kamat the lashon of the Magen Avraham. That kamat, everything is guilty unless proven innocent, which means zog the Magen Avraham, unless we know otherwise, we have to assume something is a kalei bishul, and therefore could possibly get cooked in a kli sheni and beyond. A kli shlishi, that we can be makel. Why? Because a kli shlishi already is so far removed that we don't have to be machmir. We don't have to assume that something is a kalei habishal unless we know that it gets cooked in a kli shlishi, which we will talk about. There are certain things that the Mishnah Berurah, the Heilige Chofetz Chaim Schus and Yugen Alani calls kalei habishal b'yoisa. They're even more than regular kalei bishal. So we have dargas over here like this. We've got a kalei habishal, which again, like the Magen Avraham says, we don't know what they are, so everything's guilty, everything's considered to be a kalei bishul, unless you know otherwise. We'll give some examples. That you cannot put in a klisheni. Whereas a klishishi, that's mutar. And then you're going to have kalei bishul b'yaisa, things that are even more sensitive to heat, which will be also even in a klishishi, which we will discuss. Okay? Let me give you some examples of food that are included in kalei bishul. Okay, I'm going to just give you a few, there's obviously many. One would be a baked item. For example, challah, bread, matzah. That's kalei bishul. It doesn't take a lot to cook a piece of challah, right? It doesn't take a lot to cook a piece of matzah. It's not a big deal. A very low darga of heat is required to cook a piece of matzah. Therefore, matzah and challah are kalei habishul. Now we have to be careful. How are you going to put matzah in your soup? Not on Pesach, chas v'shalom. No. Don't be choshev b'kshem. Not chas v'shalom on Pesach, right? Ravada nicht, right? Aaron, you maskim? Pesach. I'm talking about during the year. A person wants to put matzah. Anyone does such a thing? People do this, right? Who said it yesterday? We had, yesterday we had Pesach Sheni. Matzah in the soup. Obviously they're talking about during the year. I'm not talking about Chas V'Shalom on Pesach. Who was it? David, was you? Are you talking about on Pesach itself? Wow. On Pesach, B'dafka, sprinkling it in. Okay.
That's Sfardim.
Sfardim.
The tithe is only on Pesach.
The tithe is only on Pesach. That's true. Right to Rabbi Sai. A lemon. A lemon. People put lemon in their tea. Anybody puts lemon in their tea?
Lemon water. Yeah.
Wow, proud American right there. Proud American. Drinks tea. He's got his lemon in there. You put it in a cliché. How do you do it? Maybe don't say it loud, but not in Shabbos. Okay, fine. Very good. Excellent. Good. Okay. Honey. Anyone puts honey in their tea? Moving. Gavaldik. Not on Shabbos, obviously, right?
Yeah, I put honey.
You put honey in? You're a sweetie. Baruch Hashem. Zisi Eden over here. Zisi Eden. So how do you make it on Shabbos? That's the Shaila. Obviously, I'm not choshed. You guys know the halachos because you do this every Shabbos. But for those that don't, we have to teach them what to do, right? Totally, right? We have to teach them how to make a tea. Well, that's another Shaila, how to make tea. I have no idea right now. Right now, I have no idea how to make tea. But theoretically, once we know how to make tea, we can know how to put honey in. Okay? With me? Okay, weiter. Next. Cocoa. Coffee we'll talk about. Cocoa. What about cocoa? Anyone puts cocoa in hot water on Shabbos?
Yes.
They do, right? Syrup? No, they have cocoa powder. No? So these are Kale Bishul, Rabbi Say. So let's talk about a simple idea. A slice of lemon. For those that put lemon in their tea, you cannot put a lemon in your tea that is a klisheni. That means, let's just make this very clear. Tolly, you listening? No, Ellie, you put the lemon in. You put your cup under the faucet of the hot water. You open it up, you got water. Your cup is now what? A klisheni. You are not allowed to put a slice of lemon in there. Let's say even you're not making tea and coffee, so you're not worried about klishishis. So you're just having a cup of hot water with lemon in it, right? So you're not allowed to put lemon into that klisheni because lemon is a kalei bishul, and therefore when choshesh it gets cooked, therefore you can't do it. So what do? You pour it into another cup. Now that cup is a klishlishi. Now you're good. Okay? That's kavaldik. The same thing, by the way. Bread in the soup. So the truth is, we need a whole sugya to discuss bread in the soup, which we will discuss in the next day or two. We're going to get there. Baruch Hashem, you're here just in time for that. But just to give you a clear shot, because the guys are like, that's very nice, I need to know what to do on Shabbos now, right? The answer is you put it in a klishlishi. You never put soup in a klisheni with an edel. We'll talk about it. Hopefully we'll get there before Shabbos Kodesh. If not, remind me. But you're right, it's a Gavaldik Kasha. Is the ladle a klisheni in my bowl of klishishi nafkamina? Can I put challah or matzah in my soup? It's going to be a major nafkamina. Rabbi, so let's move on. Let me give you an example. Very hot. No, it's not going to be yad nichvis. We'll get to your, when we talk about challah and matzah in the soup, we'll talk about your ha'ara. Yad nichvis, the chayodim you're talking about, the Mishabura brings at the end of Siddal. So we'll talk about it, but Pashas not. Yad nichvis is bubbling hot, mamish. If the soup is very oily, maybe. Yeah.
What about noodle soup?
Someone's going to eat a noodle soup on Shabbos Kodesh? You're right. By the way, you should just know.
I would eat it without the hot water also.
Kivaldik. Many times I've got calls from people that got stuck somewhere. They want to have a noodle soup on Shabbos Kodesh. Is it Motosa? We'll try to get to it. Okay? Totally, we're bearing in mind. Stay with it. Let's go. Rabbi, so let me give you a list of items that are vadai innocent. Okay, so until now we're all the guilty side. Let's move on to the innocent side, which means things that we know from Chazal, from the Gemara, are for sure not Kalei Bishul. And therefore we have absolutely no problem putting them in a what? Klisheni, Klivishin Avadanist. Because the Klivishin is Mavashal everything, even if it's off the fire, that we said. We're talking about a Klisheni. What example do we have over here, Rabbi Isai? Example number one, again, this all comes, you look this up at the Gemara Shabbos Memo on the base, the Gemara brings us examples. Example number one is water. Water is not a Kalei Bishul. Water takes time to cook, takes time to boil. And therefore, to put water in a klisheni that's boiling hot is mutter. So if you've got a bubbling bowl of soup and you want to serve it to the kids, it's too hot. So I don't want to wait. So you pour some cold water in, no problem in a klisheni. We're not choishesh that you're being mavashal because a water requires a klivishin to cook. Can I get cooked in a klisheni? Again? No, that's something else. There I'm taking a dovagush, which has a din of a klivishin, and I'm putting it in a previously wet bowl. I'm being mavashal in a klivishin because the dovagush got a din of klivishin. When I've got a bowl of soup, that bowl of soup is for sure klisheni. Forget about the ladle. I poured it from the pot into the bowl. The bowl is a klisheni. I now want to know along, can I pour freezing cold water into that soup? A lot of people will tell you, no, chas v'shalom, it's bishul. Baruch Hashem comes along, you chashuv Talmidei Chacham, chashuv Bochum that know that halacha, and you do it, and everyone's like, you know, you have these people, you have those times that people do that. I remember I was one time in a gathering of chashuv Yidden on Shabbos Kodesh, and there was a vacuum cleaner in the. I'm going to get in trouble with it. There was a vacuum cleaner in the middle of the hallway, and there was a whole bunch of Talmidei Chacham that were like, you know, with the thumbs came out. It started getting all busy with the Ilian and the Lomdus. I don't know, the Tosfos, I think maybe we could say. So what did I do? So I come along, take the vacuum and walk off with it. Yes. Then I'm like, hello, what are you, Shabbos, Afghana, you know. Now Maisa, if you know that halacha, you do it. Like, well, what's the shayla? So you guys are going to come along, take cold water, pour it into your soup, which is a cliche, and everyone's going to like, that's okay. You tell them, open up a Shulchan Aruch and go learn the halachas yourself before you make, you know, you do it, that's it. You know the halacha, it's good. Water is not a kalei bishul, and therefore it's a kosher bishul, wherever the klisheni is mutter. Another example, olive oil, right? None of the candles. The olive oil that you want to put onto food would be mutter, right? Not a davar gush. Davar gush got din of klivisha, we said that already. We're talking about in a klisheni, right? That's no problem. Raw ox meat, basar shah, real starke meat. Takes time to cook. Depends which country you're on, how long it takes. And nafkamina is how long it takes to chew it to get down. It's another shayla. But it's not a kalei bishul. So therefore, if you want to take raw meat and put it into your soup in a klisheni, I don't know why you want to do that. Maybe you can call it carpaccio. What's it called? Yeah? Okay, good. The other example is ginger and cinnamon sticks. These are all not kalei bishul. People have that. People put the cinnamon sticks in their tea. You ever saw that before? Yeah. So in a kind of klisheni, that would be mutter. There's no problem with doing that, Bechal. No problem whatsoever. Let's finish off. Let's talk about now the next darga. And those were things that are not kalei bishul. Okay? Let's go to things that are vadei kalei habishul biyaisa. Lashon of the Heilige Chofetz Chaim Schus Yugen Aleini. That means you have things that are so sensitive to the heat that even in a klisheshi, I think even the song will be muskim shemen to this one. That even in a klishleshi, there are many things that could get cooked in there. Again, subject to machlokes, we'll talk about maybe a different time. And that is like this: very, very salty fish, right? Whatever. The very, very salty fish, eggs, and according to many tea leaves are very sensitive. Okay, there's a tshuva in the Ramashik that he says that by tea you don't really need bishul. No one really wants to cook tea leaves. I just want the taste of them. And you can extract the taste of a tea leaf in a very small amount of heat. Go get a lukewarm cup of water, right? Then you get a lukewarm cup of water, put a tea bag in it. It's going to be fine, right? It's not going to taste any different because it's not hot water, right? I don't need the bishul shabai, right? The Ramashik has a whole tshuva about it. You can do it in cold water as well, in the chanami. But the point is, you're not going to extract it in the same way, and also you need heat to be bishul. Without heat, there is no bishul to begin with. The whole yesod of the malach of bishul is through heat. If you don't have heat, then there's obviously no problem, right? But you're right, you can do many things in cold water also. That's not going to help you. You can dissolve things as well in cold water, but that's mutter. It's in hot water that's a problem. But I'll upon him, those are things that according to some poskim, the klishishi even could cook them. Again, we'll talk about it when we get to tea and coffee. We're going to get to that in Mitzvah Hashem. We're going to talk about that. We just have to end Rabbi Say. And we just talk about a few spices over here. Now, you have to know, when it comes to spices, when it comes to different spices, which is very, very important, because when you have spices, the problem is like this. People say, well, these spices are not kalei bishul. There's no problem. We just mentioned cinnamon sticks and these things. There's no problem. The problem is what Moshe says, that if you have spices that are crushed, now they can get cooked. And therefore, because of that, if you have raw crushed spices, like we already mentioned garlic, pepper, paprika, all of these things. So because some poskim hold that they have a din of a kalei habishul, and therefore even some hold, even into a klishlishi will be a problem if the liquid is ultra hot. However, many poskim say that you can be put into a klisheni. So if you've got a liquid that's a klisheni, you can put garlic and you can put paprika and other things. But if you're doing it on a davar gush, remember, a solid item, that's not going to help you, because that's got a din of a klivishin. Rabbi said tomorrow, Be'ezras Hashem Yisparach, we're going to talk about the gavaldige sugya of salt and how it applies and nafkamina between Eretz Yisrael and America. Join us tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.